Hello and welcome back to the Kass Report. I am put the K in Kass, Katalina Hadfield. I am coming to you from Las Cruces, New Mexico, and you can follow me at She's Doing Her Best OK.
Hi, I'm Sara Rose Caplan. You can follow me at Sara Rose Caplan, and I put one of the S's in the Kass review, and you'll have to figure out which. So, Kat, we're back to do what we always do, except for last week, which is meet up and process the news together, not report it. And
Hell no.
yeah,
That's why the name of the podcast is Review. We don't report anything. We just take
Nope.
a little look-see.
yeah, just how do we feel about it? Do we think
Yeah.
it's good?
No.
That kind of thing. And
Answer's probably going to be no.
yeah, usually no. We're a very harsh critic, I guess. We're sort of the who's the guy from Ratatouille? Anton Ego. We're sort of the Anton Ego of news reviewers.
That's an excellent memory. I just remember he was tall and lanky and mean.
Yeah, which doesn't describe either of us. We are short, and our limbs are 3 inches each, and we're very nice.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Every part of us is very compact, not one link to be found.
Kat, I'm afraid we can't put it off any longer with silly bits because we're rushed today. We're on a tight timeline. We already didn't have an episode last week, which I do want to address real quickly. We recorded one, and to be completely honest with you, neither of us loved what we recorded because we were both suffering from pretty deep fits of nihilistic despair that day. So it's like, what did we have to say that was helpful? Not much. And good news, my audio was corrupted anyway, so we couldn't have released it had we even wanted to. But we're back.
Yeah, the universe said no despair for you, gentle viewer.
Yeah. Yep. So we're here to provide that positive spin on the news that you know and love us for.
We are world renowned for making the news sound so good.
Yep. All right, are we ready, Kat?
Yeah. Okay, what's our first piece of good news?
Good news?
Just kidding,
okay.
just kidding.
Okay, wait. I do have a surprise bit of good news.
Let's start with it. I need it. I'm craving it.
Okay. In my surprise bit of good news. So this comes into play later, but I've been looking into some statistics on the United States' unhoused population. And yeah. And as part of that, I've found one good news statistic.
I'll take it.
Yep. So, the one good news statistic is that there are some limited stats. Let me find the exact ones. Here we go. Yes. There are actually there were fewer trans people experiencing homelessness in 2024 than there were in 2023.
Whoa. I've never heard a better piece of news in my life.
And the reason that is actually a crazy piece of news is because overall, there were 18% more people experiencing homelessness in 2024 than in 2023.
Oh, so just the proportion went down?
No. The raw number of trans people experiencing homelessness went down between those 2 years.
Wow. But if there's this huge increase in number of homeless people, that means that trans people did even better. They didn't go up.
Right. Yeah. We went down when everyone else went up.
Yeah. That's good to go, us trans people.
Yeah.
I'm going to just say that maybe that's mutual aid is taking action.
That's possible. I will also say these demographics are self-reported, so it might be that in 2024, more trans people felt unsafe answering that they were trans on these surveys than they did previously. And that it reflects more a feeling of comfort labeling yourself as trans in an official government survey than anything else.
So maybe actually the number of trans people who are unhoused could have gone up. Who's to say?
Also, I'm getting this data from Housing and Urban Development, the federal agency, Housing and Urban Development. They do an annual They do an annual assessment. It's the annual homelessness assessment report that they give to Congress once a year. And the other thing about it that to me makes a lot of these numbers, you have to take them with a huge grain of salt.
Hmm.
They only go out one night a year because they're trying to get a snapshot of like that one night, what does it look like?
Hmm.
And they're only counting people living on the streets or in parks or in like official homelessness shelters. But if someone's couch surfing and they're staying with a friend, like that kind of vibe, they go completely uncounted in the
Hmm.
federal government's numbers. So
Also, what if that person's like asleep? Or what if that happens to be the least unhoused night of the year? It's like not super good statistics. But that, to be fair, it's really hard just generally to get good statistics of unhoused people
yeah.
because it is just a tougher population to be able to directly talk to and get to answer questions. Because if I'm, first of all, if you're coming to my door to answer questions, I'm not answering, let alone if you're coming to my wherever else I'm living. So,
And the people who
ah,
compile this report put a lot of work into it and try really hard and like do
oh,
genuinely seem to care because I read through a lot of the official report.
that's great.
So
Gold star.
I believe they are doing the best job they can. I'm
That's
not
great.
saying that these people suck by any means. I'm just acknowledging the limits of the data I'm using. But
Mm,
all those caveats aside, that's the good news. It seems like there are
okay.
fewer trans people, given all those grains of salt, who are experiencing homelessness. Anyway, let's move on.
Wow.
I'm going to talk
Well,
way more about these stats because I got like way too deep into them. But let's talk about other stories first.
hell yeah. Okay, okay. We'll save that one for last. Let's talk about our other piece of good news. Sydney Sweeney is hot.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
the only positive spin I could. It's not even a spin. It's just
and I'm like, yeah, I mean, she's hot, but it's like not a person I would want to date.
oh, nor I. Well, I know
So,
too much about her now.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. I'm just,
Well,
yeah.
the reason we bring up Sydney Sweeney and her alleged hotness is because there's been a lot of frustration going around about the new American Eagle jeans ad, where
Hmm.
Sydney Sweeney says that she has good genes, and a direct reference to her blue eyes. And there's like
Hmm.
some blue jeans involved there, and blue jeans like the pants, all that kind of mixed up together. And, you know, it does give me some pause about the rise of eugenicist conversations. And I know, so much of the right and so much of the media is like, oh, the leftists blowing this out of proportion. And I'm not saying that this ad is akin to posting just a swastika on your screen, but it is curious. It's curious that this is coming up at the same time as
Well,
um,
I don't know
brown people being deported.
which version
Oh,
did you see, Kat?
oh,
There's
um,
actually two of these commercials.
really?
Yeah.
I just saw the one with the jeans and the eyes and the boobs.
Well, they both have those, so
Oh,
that's nice. Let's watch them together because they're both very short.
wow.
So
I've
first,
only seen one of them, I guess.
I'll play the one most people have seen
Okay.
first.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has her jeans.
You see what I did there, right?
Is that the one you saw?
No, I saw the other one.
Yeah. So this is the less problematic of the two, but it is the one that if you search Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad, it's the only one currently being posted like by American Eagle. It's the one that you're most likely to find. And if you don't know there's a different one and you don't actively look for it, you won't find it. And we can see here, why does that matter? Well, this one, it's just not nearly as explicit as the other one.
True.
And like the top comment on the official posting of the commercial's YouTube video, for example, right now, which has 25,000 upvotes, is Is this the ad everyone's losing their mind over? Lol. The next one, with 18,000 upvotes, I watched it 20 times and still haven't figured out what the problem is. Here, 12,000 likes. Guys, now that I see it, it's an ad for jeans. Imagine doing a generic ad and waking up in the morning to hate mail. I watched this commercial just because of the huge backlash, and it reminded me people are stupid. You get the point. They've very successfully done this switcheroo, and now the people who are already inclined to think that people critical of it, the ad for being eugenicist, are being even more unreasonable than they might otherwise have thought they are. And it's just going to feed more into that like confirmation bias when people on the left try to bring up this kind of issue. They're being crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Also, as of recording this podcast, this video has 4.9 million views. So turns out eugenics is good for business.
Yep. So now let's watch the one that you might have seen.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
Yeah, I'm just going to play that one more time in case the viewer hasn't seen this one.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
And this one is it's a lot more explicitly eugenicist. That's the problem. And the first place I could find this was on this random account with 215 subscribers called Alien Ads 801. So thanks for preserving it and posting it.
Shout out aliens. Doing more for us than we have for ourselves. Since forever.
Yeah. So that's pretty bad. Like that's when you said like, well, it's not like she put a swastika on it. It's like
it is a little bit
though.
Yeah.
Because the whole Nazi project was literally inspired by American eugenicist projects. Like Adolf Hitler, effusive enjoyer of American and British eugenicists.
And also, it's helpful to know, too, that eugenicist projects weren't just about whether you were quote-unquote Jewish versus not Jewish. There's also an element of about what you looked like. And it didn't necessarily matter your heritage. They were trying to go for a certain look, and that look is blonde hair and blue eyes. And here we have this look. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's Sydney Sweeney's natural hair, but I digress. Well, I don't digress because she's making herself have the look, and she's saying you should also have this look. And I think if this ad aired maybe 10 years ago, it would still be problematic, but it wouldn't give me as much pause as it does now, given the increasing fascism and eugenicist rhetoric that has become more prominent.
Right. Yeah. And like, this is the classic Jean-Paul Sartre, can't argue with an anti-Semite. They're always going to build in just enough plausible deniability to run cover so they can be like, oh, no, you're right. I could see how you might read it that way, but it's just a little pun. But like the fact that it goes determining hair color, personality, eye color determines millions of things, genes, hair color, personality, eye color, into Sydney Sweeney, blue eyes, staring at the camera, blonde hair, white, the picture perfect, docile trad pinup girl. My genes are blue. Right after eye color. We know, everyone knows. She's saying she has the genes that give her the eye color blue. And it's so, and
I'm looking now just at I literally Googled 1930s eugenics ad, and which don't do that if you want to preserve your algorithm. But just to let you know, a lot of them are just featuring people with blonde hair and blue eyes doing stuff, whatever, happy, living their lives. This really big one says only healthy seed must be sown, and it's a big buff man dropping seeds in the ground. It says check the seeds of hereditary disease and unfitness by eugenics.
Yeah.
So it's this really it's a slippery slope. And
what we're facing with that slippery slope right now in America, it's more than just like Nazism, because people don't understand. Like, basically, the Nazis came. I just listened to a great book by Robert Chapman, an autistic philosopher. The book is called The Empire of Normality, and it tracks the like parallel rise of like capitalism as an economic system in Europe and then exported globally, along with the like simultaneous changes in our understanding of like humanity, the development of the entire science of genetics. Like it wasn't until we were already like well into the Industrial Revolution that people, scholars, doctors even spoke about humans as having any kind of like normal range of anything. Like the idea that there is a normal, the idea that there is something that like represents what a person is supposed to be. And like this whole evolution goes with the creation of things like BMI and like the statistical study of different races, and like, a good Dutch stock should be this tall and this weight and blah, blah, blah. Like, and that coincides with the development. Specifically, the book is about disability and mental disabilities like autism, ADHD, anything like that. Like the creation of an entire new understanding of a class of people as disabled because they don't fit into what capitalism needs, because they don't fit the archetype of the productive worker. And that's a huge part of the eugenics project. And we're seeing a blatant return of just straight up eugenicism. It's not just Nazism, it's not just fascism, because these things don't necessarily coincide. Like 19th century Britain and America were heavily eugenicist. And the anti-homelessness order, which talk about probably hopefully today as well, ties into this, the fact that they're trying to get people off of the streets. And well, I'm just going to force us to pivot into that now because this has to be a short episode.
Let's pivot.
These are the things that are all related. Like people are like, oh, Sydney Sweeney ad, it's not that bad. It is, because it all ties into this shit. So
yeah, it does.
We talked about this last week in a lot of detail. We won't be able to get into it as much because we don't have time this week. But I might post our just longer discussion about this executive order from. Oh no, it sounds fucked. Anyway, so it's a Trump executive order, and it is called "Ending Crime and Disorder on America's Streets," or at least that's what the URL says. Ending crime and disorder on America's streets, and it has all these just honestly god awful inclusions in it. But so this is essentially this is a eugenicist project designed to cleanse our good American stock in our cities of these undesirable people.
And I want to talk a little bit about just the title and how it is misleading and full of dog whistles. So let's just talk about ending crime and disorder on the streets. So first, what is crime? We decide what crimes are. Just because something is a crime doesn't mean it's bad, and just because something isn't a crime doesn't mean it's not bad. For example, my city council in Las Cruces passed an anti-panhandling ordinance in 2024. Deeply shameful. It's usually a pretty leftist city council. I'm very sad about it still. But that wasn't a crime until then. People thought it was annoying, but why does it make it bad to ask people for money when you need help? What's different than a GoFundMe? How is that different from a GoFundMe? It makes you feel a little more uncomfortable because you actually face the fact that people are struggling and in person instead of seeing it through a virtual screen. But that is a quote unquote crime that our local city has decided is a crime. So the idea of just ending crime is bananas. There will always be crime because we will always decide some things go against social norm. So that's never going to end. And the crimes, I'm a criminal defense lawyer and I represent the people who make the lowest income in my county. The majority have a place to live. Like the minority are unhoused. And you can't just sweeping away unhoused people is not going to make crime, quote unquote, go away. Second, let's talk about disorder. We decide what order is. And to some people, order is having the things that you don't like put away in cabinets. And instead of cabinets, I mean jails. Just putting them somewhere else. Versus my version of an ordered society is a place where everyone can ask for what they need in a public forum or just somewhere. And we don't have that right now. So crime and disorder are relative. These are just dog whistles in order to round up the blatant visual failings of our society, which is people struggling publicly, and to just hide them instead of solving the problems that lead to them being on the street. That's my rant for today.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, if I were the person allowed to organize society, for example, a world in which there were, this is the stat going around recently that I saw on social media, 28 vacant homes for every one person experiencing homelessness in the United States. And when you're looking at a city like Detroit, there are 116 vacant homes per unhoused person. It's, to me, that should be criminal. If anything, will be.
That sounds very disorderly to me, Sarah.
Yes, companies hoarding houses when there are hundreds of thousands of people living on the streets is criminal and highly disordered. Where is the order in that society? Yeah. So, like, these, I mean, they're just being fascists there, by which, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably understand what I mean and are sympathetic, so I won't explain.
If you don't, do a quick Google of fascism. Welcome to your learning journey.
Yes. To look at some specifics of what is in this executive order. So, Section 5A, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's RFK Jr., right? Am I right? Am I wrong?
I think you're right.
That's the Secretary of Health and Human Services? Yeah, it is. That's who he is. So
it is.
RFK Jr. and the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, we don't know who he is, shall take appropriate actions to increase accountability in their provision of and grants awarded for homelessness assistance and transitional living programs. These actions shall include, to the extent permitted by law, ending support for, quote, housing first policies that deprioritize accountability and fail to promote treatment, recovery, and self-sufficiency. They will increase competition among grantees, meaning the organizations, the programs and assistance programs that receive money from the federal government. They will increase competition among these grantees through broadening the applicant pool and holding grantees to higher standards of effectiveness in reducing homelessness and increasing public safety. So that's a lot of legalese that is designed to be impenetrable. But to me, when I read that, here's what it suggests they're trying to lay the groundwork for, because all these things build on each other, right? So what does that mean? Well, first, how do you have a higher effectiveness of reducing homelessness if you are ending support for housing first policies? That could mean that people are helped in finding homes. That could mean organizations that are helping free some of those vacant homes from organizations like BlackRock or whatever. But that's not what they mean.
Blackstone.
I'm so
Sarah.
sorry, Blackstone. There's a huge difference.
Dearly departed
huge
CEO
difference.
rolling in her grave.
Yeah, sorry. I was talking about the mercenary company that was committing war crimes on behalf
How
of
dare
the
you.
Cheneys, as opposed to the capitalist mercenary company committing war crimes against the American people on behalf of basically
Capitalism?
everybody's retirement funds now. Actually, if you're a member of like a union or your business invests in a 401k or something, look to see if it's being managed by Blackstone or anything like that, or any of the businesses that like invest in these things. They're all tied together. We're all enabling this. It doesn't matter. It does matter a lot. I'm distracting myself.
It matters generally, but not for the purposes of what we're talking about at this moment.
What does it mean to reduce homelessness if we're not providing people housing first?
Mm-hmm.
That means, well, either, like Kat said, sweeping those people somewhere where they're just not a problem, no longer being statisticked. I really don't know what else it would mean. Except obviously like companies like Geo Group, which also run the majority of sort of halfway homes in this country and make a fuck ton of money doing that, are going to be offered huge government contracts in order to just like not technically imprison homeless people yet, but just have them like living in temporary solution housing that are essentially prisons and making a fuck ton of money from the government to do it, way cheaper than it would be just to buy up all that housing stock or build new housing. It's way more expensive than it would be. The other thing I'm seeing here that worries me is the increasing competition among grantees through broadening the applicant pool. How do you broaden the applicant pool? My guess is, and I don't know, this is me reading between the lines. My guess is someone like RFK or the Secretary of HUD will have to say, oh, well, right now we have all these organizations that would like to apply, but they're prevented to because they are religious in nature. They're officially evangelical organizations. But, if we remove that restriction, that's the only way we can abide by the president's instruction. And so legally our hands are tied and we have to start offering all this money to churches, to Christian organizations, to organizations that don't allow LGBTQ people, which currently might prevent them from being part of our applicant pool, that kind of thing.
And LGBTQ people are disproportionately likely to be homeless, especially trans and gender nonconforming people. I know in Las Cruces, there are two places you can go if you're unhoused. There is Community of Hope, which is funded. I don't fully understand the funding mechanism, but I think it's mostly city funding. Or there is a religious org. And those are your options. And the religious org, you also have to work. There's a work requirement. So it'd be cool to have more options here. But if they have a religious undertone, then you basically still have only the one option. And keep in mind, we're the second biggest city in the state. Like, some places have one option only, and those are religious services. Or zero options.
Yeah. Or, look, we are slipping rapidly back into a world of, like, explicit slavery. That's a lot of what I'm reading in the tea leaves, by which I mean the executive orders. It doesn't there's going to be churches that start getting money for this. But in order to increase the pool, that means they're going to be removing restrictions from what prevents someone previously from applying. And I will not be surprised if in a year or two we start seeing factories, warehouses, fast food restaurants that are also like temporary homeless living shelters. And the criteria is not just a work criteria, but a work for us, and that's how you pay off your housing. It's going to be indentured servitude for the unhoused.
Exactly. God forbid we just provide housing for people. No, someone has to make a profit. Because we've decided that a living place is an investment instead of a right.
Well, and because the president said they need to promote, quote, treatment, recovery, and self-sufficiency.
Oh my God. If we really cared about treatment, recovery, and self-sufficiency, then we'd remove all student debt accrual for medical students. And we would make working conditions for doctors better
Mhm.
and regulate the price of malpractice insurance.
Well, I did see a headline that I didn't look into at all, Cap, but it does seem like
Right.
there's one segment of the population that is going to get student loan assistance.
Oh, you're right. It's going to be people who work for ICE.
Yeah, so
Thank God.
that's a step in the right direction.
Wow.
I want to stick with this executive order. It's a couple weeks old. I did not see enough people talking about it.
I
And
agree.
there's so much going on in the world. We will not get, obviously, to everything. But I know, Kat, you put some other things on the agenda. So,
Oh, that's okay. Well, I think if I have a final word on this topic, at least, I would say, I'm just going to repeat what I would say. Just give people housing. Who cares? Don't treat
Yeah.
housing like an investment.
Right.
And if you do, shame on you. Sell that goddamn house to someone who needs it.
Yeah. So I'm going to return to just like kind of a deeper reading of this executive order because, guys, sorry, we need to. This shit
Yeah.
is where they're setting all this stuff up. So in Section 5, Segment D, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development shall take appropriate measures and revise regulations as necessary to allow, where permissible under applicable law, federally funded programs to exclusively house women and children, and to stop sex offenders who receive homelessness assistance through such programs from being housed with unrelated children. So that is a very confusingly worded paragraph that I believe is intentional and will be interpreted a few ways. First, to exclusively house women and children. Women are already significantly more housed than men, first of all.
Yeah.
And families with children are significantly more sheltered. I'm not saying it's not good to have more, but right now, like, men are proportionally like way less likely to be able to find shelter.
Mhm.
Also, to exclusively house women and children means separating dads from their families. There are more and more people who are homeless as families, like as entire families, right? And
Mhm.
I think the idea people have is, oh, well, if you're a kid who's homeless, like the dad died, the dad abandoned you, it's a battered woman who fled with their children. And I'm not saying those situations don't exist. They definitely do. And they're worth considering. But increasingly, people just can't afford houses. These
Mhm.
aren't people forced onto the streets out of like desperation because the husband who paid the bills, left to go get cigarettes and now the woman and children are fucked. That's not how society works anymore. These are often two-parent households or two-parent families. Both parents are working and together they cannot afford housing for their families.
Mhm.
And so if we're
Also,
going to have an increase in these where the dad can't go with the family, that's unnecessary, in my opinion. Yeah, sorry, Kat.
well, no. I agree with this, and I would just go one step further. It's like stopping sex offenders.
I want to touch on that part. So that's the next
Oh,
part.
that's where I was going to take us. There's this
Yeah.
next part that says to stop sex offenders. So are we talking about people who are criminally convicted of a sex crime, or are we talking something broader? Because I mean, I haven't seen the definitions. I'm just asking.
There is
Who
a
receive homelessness assistance through such programs from being housed with unrelated children. So are we using sex offender as like any trans person, any queer person? Because if maybe, I mean,
think-
maybe you and I are committing sex crimes 5 years in the future by just having had any gender confirming surgery.
I mean, in some states, we're committing sex crimes by being in public already.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know,
It's vulgar, Sarah.
like these things are going to. Yeah, again, this shit all builds on itself. So
Mhm.
once the executive order comes through in a month that says all trans people are sex offenders, and then all queer people are sex offenders, that will apply retroactively to this. And
Yeah.
the other part grammatically that I find tricky about this is and to stop sex offenders who receive homelessness assistance through such programs from being housed with unrelated children. At first reading, I think what they want you to read is like adult sex offenders with children would be prevented, or adult sex offenders without children. But if you're an adult sex offender with or without kids, you'd be prevented from being housed in a federally funded program in which children you're not related to are present. It doesn't actually say that, though, even if it sort of implies it. And once, we see some executive order that says all trans people are sex offenders, that means a 15-year-old trans person who's by themselves on the streets or who's with their family who are unhoused can be prevented from being housed with unrelated children, even if those children are older than they are. And also, children isn't defined, but if we look back at Trump's like anti-trans youth thing from before that we talked about last week that you didn't hear us talk about. But anyway, long story short, in there, the executive order defines children as under 19, so including 18-year-olds. This is all building. It's all building. It's all building. And, you and I have probably been going around saying stuff like that and trying to read between lines like this for years now and having people tell us we were overreacting or whatever. Hopefully, all of you who know us believe us now, right? We're in the fascism now, right?
We're in the fascism, swimming without a snorkel.
Maybe it's better to look out for what the fascists might be setting up instead of dismissing that as unlikely. Anyway, okay.
Okay, I want to talk about, not on that, I want to talk about one more thing from this executive order, and then maybe we move on to our other topics. The other thing is D2, Section 5, D2, Roman numeral little 2.
Sorry, it's not D unless you're reading the actual. It's a different segment, I think.
Oh, well, I'm just going to read a section and where it is. Gentle viewer, reader, listener, maybe viewer. It requires funding recipients to share data with law enforcement authorities in circumstances permitted by law, which is a lot, and to use the collected health data to provide appropriate medical care to individuals with mental health diagnoses or to connect individuals to public health resources. You know what's a mental health diagnosis? Being goddamn trans. So basically, this is saying if you find out that someone in your program is trans, you need to be able to share that with law enforcement. You have to set up a system that shares it with law enforcement. If someone has any kind of mental health diagnosis, which could be autism, which could be anxiety, which could be panic attacks, which could be something more severe, and also just use the collected health data is so vague. What are they going to do with that health data? What happened to HIPAA? And HIPAA is still in place, and this doesn't overturn HIPAA, thank God, but it still is basically allowing different entities to funnel information to law enforcement. And law enforcement will use that information against you because that is their job. They are an adverse party against you. As someone who's representing people being sued, they are sued by law enforcement. So they're not the police are not a public safety entity. They are a public prosecution entity. And they're investigating in order to find out if you did a crime, and they will prosecute you of that crime. And maybe that crime is going to be what we call a sex crime in 5 years, which is being trans or being queer.
Yeah. I mean, and this is being left to the Attorney General and RFK Jr. to decide what this will look like. And they're also, in the executive order, the previous little subsection, it's Section 5E2 that Kat was just talking about. And in Section 5E1, it said that they will be... they're ordered to allow or require these recipients of federal funding for homelessness assistance, which again means like nonprofits who provide this kind of thing or organizations focused on providing shelters to people or any other kind of homelessness assistance to collect they might be required to collect health-related information that RFK Jr. identifies as necessary to the effective and efficient operation of the programs. And then they might require those organizations to share that data. And so it's what questions will RFK Jr. identify as necessary? Will that include immigration status? Will that include citizenship status? There's no reason why it won't. Like, there's no legal thing preventing it. And they will keep reaching it further and further until people stop them. Yeah, it's bad.
It's bad. Okay, I'm going to circle back to one more thing you said, Sarah, too, about this, and then really we're going to move on, which is you talked about how this basically is working to bring back slavery. And I'm going to just add one more point that I would agree with regarding that hypothesis, which is slavery was never abolished in the United States. It has always existed, and the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution changed that only in the following way. It made slavery illegal except for punishment for a crime. What did I say earlier in this podcast? We decide what crimes are. We could decide that panhandling means you do involuntary servitude. We could decide that being trans means you do involuntary servitude. We can decide that being a person of color again means you do involuntary servitude. Right now, we've decided that being an immigrant who entered quote unquote illegally, it could lead you to involuntary servitude because we've decided that that's a crime. It is a very slippery slope that we are currently sliding right on down.
Yeah. Okay. Before we lose Kat, because I think
I'm going to turn into a pumpkin soon.
Well, Kat, you're in the middle of putting on a production of Cabaret about
That's true.
fun queer people in Nazi Germany or France. It's in France. It's not
Germany.
France. Germany.
They talk about Germany. Or sorry, they talk about France, but it is in Berlin in 1929 and 1930.
Yeah. So before you have to leave to go do your job as a musical director that you do alongside your job as a public defender, you wanted to talk about recent expansion of ICE in El Paso.
Oh, yeah. So related to just rounding people up because our legislators have decided things are crimes and our executive branch. The ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, has already had it present in my region of the country for ever since it's existed because we are right by the border. I live less than an hour drive away from El Paso, Texas, which is part of one of the largest transcontinental urban areas. It's not transcontinental, transnational urban areas in the world. El Paso, Texas abuts Juarez, Mexico. Juarez is actually multiple times the size of El Paso in population. And El Paso is already bigger in population than any city in New Mexico. So it's a pretty sizable urban population that is multinational and thus scares national leaders, even though people here have been living in this area. Many people have been living in this area for centuries and centuries, and it's chill.
Yeah. And in many ways,
for the genocides.
Like, in many ways, people live in the whole metro area. It is divided, obviously, by a border, but people will cross the border both directions to go shopping for the afternoon or
visit
to go to
family.
Work in some cases. Yeah.
One of my coworkers, his wife lives in Juarez, and then they just they both own their separate houses and they make it work, which damn good for you, dude. I could never because I'm needy. But regardless, I have been kind of pleasantly surprised that ICE crackdowns they've actually been less bad in my area than they had been previous to this administration being installed nationally. And I was kind of surprised. I think it's because they're all in Sarah's city right now and in the Everglades. But, with those recruitment bonuses, maybe they're up in their employees. But a friend of a friend was abducted by ICE at the El Paso International Airport in the early morning hours of August 3rd. That is Sunday, early morning. She went through airport security, and then after she made it to the other side of security, ICE abducted her. A lot of it's on video. You can find it. Her name is Xochitl. We will share a link to her legal fund in the description of the podcast. It's already, last time I checked, which was last night, it had raised $20,000, which is amazing. But lawyers are really freaking expensive because we also have a student loan crisis. It's just crisis on type of crisis over here. But she is a DACA recipient. And if you don't know what DACA is, it's for kids who entered quote unquote illegally, and it gives them a chance, a quote unquote pathway to citizenship. It's so hard to comply with. It's so expensive to comply with. But it's possible. And there are many people out here doing it. If you've heard of a quote unquote dreamer, that's that same program. But she had all her legal status in order. Everything was good. But they yanked her anyway. And we don't know where she is. And I just want to share it just to signal boost and to spread witness of these things happening and starting to happen to people that I know. And I think it'll keep happening to people that I know. I mean, I didn't know this person, but she is a friend of a friend, which is too close for comfort.
She is a part of your community. And I think if you haven't already had someone who's a part of your community impacted in this way, then you will soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, it'd be cool if you could donate to her, but I'm also a big proponent of supporting your local people. And I think there's also local people to you, listener, that need your help. So if you're local to my area, or you just like have some extra cash you want to send Xochitl's way, please do, by all means. But also if you're like, listen, I only got $10, and I want to spend it on someone locally, I'm a proponent of that, because there are people in your area facing similar atrocities, and we have to spread the love.
Yeah. And again, this person has a valid DACA work authorization card. This legally provides protection from deportation in the United States. There's absolutely no reason for a Border Patrol agent to abduct her. Even if you're someone who's like, things should be done legally, people should follow the laws, they don't care.
No. Yeah. Because there's not going to be any repercussions.
No.
They just kind of do whatever. And this happens with police officers already. They can kind of just arrest whoever if they feel like they committed a crime. I mean, one of the crimes is disorderly conduct. If someone is, or one of them is resisting evading. If an officer comes up to you and is like, hey, let's talk, and you're like, no, I'm running away. It's resisting evading. So my point being, like, officers have a lot of impunity here, and can just kind of do whatever.
Right.
And it's,
I mean, resisting arrest is a crime. If an officer starts arresting you when you haven't done anything, and you resist that unlawful arrest, you thereby commit the crime of resisting arrest, and become legally a criminal. It's the stupidest. We live in the stupidest
alleged
world.
Criminal. Until, but let me tell you, people, we say it's innocent until proven guilty, but they sure don't treat people that way in our system.
No.
That's all I'm going to say on that.
Yeah.
That's all I can say on that, other than...
I can say more, which is...
you can.
Look, the conclusion you might want to draw from that is like, well, if I haven't done anything, I'll just let them arrest me, and then I'll prove that I'm innocent, and that's the best way to deal with this, because I don't want to resist arrest and risk that turning me into a criminal. But if they're arresting you, they'll find a reason to have arrested you. It doesn't matter. It's also their word against yours if they say you resisted arrest or you hit them or something. There's a lot of people for whom, increasingly, like, you are so unsafe in state custody, in police custody, in border custody, that, I mean, try to get away. I'm not a lawyer. I don't represent any state interests here. I will say, you're fucked either way. If you can get away and they can't catch you, maybe you're better off. I don't know. It's all going to be contextual. It might also give them a reason to shoot you in the back, so who the fuck knows? Not me. It's horrifying living in a fascist police state.
All I will say to that is there are no good choices.
Yeah. Kat, do you have to dip?
I I do have to dip, but I'm just going to say one last thing, which is I can't be on this podcast and not have us mention Gaza and the
Of course.
ongoing starvation of Gaza by the alleged state of Israel. It's so deeply horrible. It's being not only committed by Israel, but basically every other country is complicit that is not actively trying to get food into Gaza. And it's disgusting and it's sad. And we're going to share some resources that you can also donate to. And that's all the advice that we can really offer other than to witness it and don't forget it.
Yeah, we've both been thinking a lot about how we want to talk about Gaza because we have no particular extra insights that we can offer this except to like share in the same feelings of horror and trying to stave off the same feelings of helplessness and despair as everyone else who's watching the most broadcast genocide of all time. And I mean, the one thing I will say is, hey, states out there saying, oh, well, we'll recognize Palestine. Fuck you. You know that won't do anything. If you're not getting medical care and food to these people right now, it doesn't matter what else you say, and you're just trying to buy yourself some kind of good karma that we will see through. And
if you're buying karma, you're not really getting it.
No. And as I've been thinking about, at least, like, what can we do that, because obviously we don't want to ignore it, that it's just like outside of either of our realms of expertise. And there are way better sources to stay up to date on the news about that situation. I think, though, what Kat and I can do, or what I can do, because Kat's otherwise super busy, trying to do deep dives on micro subjects in this that are going under the radar. Like, I had a conversation yesterday with my mom, and my mom is very, like, she is not a Zionist, but she has a lot of friends who are, because she's a middle-aged woman in the Jewish community of Houston, and she gets sent articles all the time by friends who are Zionists, and we were talking about it, and she's like, well, I don't know how to respond to these articles they're sending me. I don't know what's true and what's not true. How am I supposed to know? And one of those articles she sent me was this claim that's being spread around the American Zionist community that's like, well, Israel wants to give food to these people. Israel's not the people. It's the UN. The UN are anti-Semites who are not letting Israel distribute food. It's the UN who are refusing to cooperate to manufacture this famine to make Israel look bad because the UN is anti-Semitic.
Boy.
And the article, turns out, written by a guy named Johnny Moore. I had never heard of him. He's an American evangelical televangelist, even though he was writing for a South African, like, Jewish newspaper. But he's an American evangelical televangelist who is the executive chairman of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is the one that Israel and the United States governments propped up to justify kicking out all of the, like, UN and other orgs who were previously doing food distribution. And if you've seen videos of people being herded like cattle into, like, just shooting ranges for IDF soldiers, or the article about IDF playing red light, green light with people desperate to get food, that's all under the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. So what I think I'm going to do for next week, for Gaza going forward, in lieu of us trying to stay, like, up to date with new news that's happening, which we're not equipped to do, I'm going to try to do, like, one deep dive segment on a thing that I'm encountering going under the radar or something like that. So I want to talk about Johnny Moore and the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation next week when I've had a chance to research it more thoroughly. And I will sit here and we'll do a mini Behind the Bastards, where, Kat, your job will be to listen in horror as I tell you about this man. And I think, I don't know, does that how?
Yeah, I'll listen in horror. I'll comment and be sad.
Yeah. Otherwise, yes, we are going to post links to people you can give money to.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think the moral of this story, not the moral, I don't know if there's a moral other than don't do genocide. There's maybe some others, but what I'll say is it's better, rather than scrolling in horror by myself, I would rather listen in horror and be in community in horror with you and with others. And
yeah,
I think we're trying to end this on the positive note has been our goal of this. And I'll say, you have a community, no matter how big it is or small it is, you have a community, and find it and use it and listen to it and have it listen to you, because that will help make the horrors more digestible and help you spread anti-horror within your life.
yeah. And to end with my little moment of hope, I was at Gen Con over the weekend, and Gen Con is a huge board gaming, tabletop role-playing game convention. And the thing I saw that I loved seeing there, I encountered a small game development collective, which is why that word was in my head, called the Tessa Collective, that designs games, and they are designing games specifically from like a leftist perspective. And the games they had out on their table were Space Cats Fight Fascism, Community Garden, the board game, Strike, the game of worker rebellion, which they designed in conjunction with Jobs with Justice, which is a labor rights org. And they have an upcoming game, Good Dog, Bad Zombie, 2nd edition, which is maybe less directly anti-fascist in nature. But in general, they're a small collective making games that are, for people who, they also have one called Co-opoly, which is like Monopoly, but it's a game about cooperatives. And it's the game of skill and solidarity where everyone wins or everyone loses. And
wow,
there's people out there doing cool, creative things, trying to find ways to educate and to spread ideas and to have fun. Like, have fun in a way that's productive and inspiring and hopeful and teaching people in amidst all the horrors. So if that sounds cool to you, they are a worker-owned cooperative that makes these games. And go check them out, Tessa Collective. They're not paying me to do this little plug, but they did give me a couple of their games to test out just because they're really nice. And I told them that they looked really cool and were out of my budget. So that's the kind of people they are.
That's really cool.
Final thoughts, Kat? I have so many final thoughts on the statistics on homelessness in this country I was looking at. I'll record a separate little video that I'll post independently later this week about that.
Hell yeah. My final thought is be with community when you can. I'm just gonna echo that.
Yeah, that's it.
Find your pals. Make the horrors less horror.
Yeah. And maybe play a game of Coopoly or Space Cats Fight Fascism with them.
Or the quintessential queer game, Baldur's Gate 3.
Which you could do too. Or, I mean, you could play Dungeons and Dragons.
The even more quintessential queer show.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
Lots of options. Go
play some Thirsty Sword Lesbians or something. Yes, Kat, that's a real game.
I believe you.
Until then,
we are your Thirsty Sword queers.
Yeah.
Kat and Sara.
Kat, you're men attracted.
Just enough.
Well, because of Kat, we're not Thirsty Sword Lesbians, but we are Thirsty Sword queers.
I'm also not that thirsty.
I'm actually mostly asexual.
Anyway,
long story short.
Yeah. Long story short, we are queer and we like to fight. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Find us at She's Doing Her Best Okay, and that's Sara Rose Caplan. We love you. Bye.
Okay.
Cassandra knew they waited for her song. The audience had paid to see a show. And so Cassandra did her best to play along. And Cassandra smiled like she didn't know.
But Cassandra saw it everywhere she went. The horror that awaited at the end. For Pandarus at the bakery, Briseis on the bus, and Cassandra cried and cried because she knew too fucking much. And for Cassandra, it got harder to pretend.